Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and on Street Talk, what we do, we talk about things happening here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. We talk about political, social, and economics. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside,
Charles Thomas,
Paget Maynard.
On another show, we was talking about Dr. King, and before his speech, and you know, everybody says, oh well, this famous speech, and there was a lot of more things he said in this speech, you know.
The entire speech was about the United States failing to live up to its own principles.
Mm-hmm.
So the United States failing to live up to its own obligations found in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. It was about the moral responsibility and the legal responsibility of the United States to take care of its black and brown citizens. Mm-hmm. It was as simple as that. And it was about a check coming back with insufficient funds. Mm. And it was an economic and political rights speech. Mm-hmm. And at the very end, as I said last time we discussed this, Mahalia Jackson just offhandedly said, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." Mm-hmm. And that's when he went to this whole I have a dream
But people
narrative.
only remember that.
Well, of course, because they don't read and they don't do the homework. And plus people are manipulated into believing what the powers that be want them to. Yeah. So if I tell you, and you're the type of person who doesn't research and read on their own, that this pile over here is really shinola, and you don't bother to investigate, you'll go the rest of your life and say, yeah, I saw a pile of shinola over there. Mm-hmm. But the speech was not about everybody just recognizing each other's humanity and judging each other individually on the content of each other's character. Mm-hmm. That's not the purpose of the speech. No. The speech was about an aggregate movement that was based on what we had coming to us as citizens of this country.
Mm-hmm. I think it was on such a high spiritual level, because the universe only created this man.
Okay.
Dr. King was on time, in time, and for time. Mm-hmm. And we can't wrap our minds around, what he was really all about. But most of our leaders that have come to us during this liberation of our consciousness, it was some heavy stuff to be. Malcolm X gave us some heavy information.
Oh, yeah.
Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan, and they were all just being developed into this period of time. Yeah. So it was some heavy stuff being concentrated for the plight of black people in America. Yeah. I mean, what's his name? The guy, Rap Brown, and it was a lot of stuff going on. It was a lot of energy, man.
Yeah. And that's.
Well, it was going on around the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because at the same time that you had the civil rights movement, you had a freedom movement going on in South Africa. Yeah. With apartheid was just Jim Crow by another name.
Right.
and it was even more brutal.
Yeah.
And so when Nelson Mandela was arrested and sentenced to prison, a long prison term, his wife Winnie was disallowed to work, disallowed to vote, disallowed to participate in society. They tried to reduce her to a level of starvation, and she became a freedom fighter on her own as part of the ANC, while her beloved husband, was away in prison. So you saw this in the United States. You saw from the left and the right, with King's movement being a little bit more conservative, not conservative in the terms of the rats that we had today who called themselves conservative. I mean in terms of the methodology that they were willing to employ. And then you had younger groups like SNCC, who said, and Mukasa Dada, aka Willie Ricks, actually sat down with Dr. King and said, Dr. King, you can't go around, man, being nonviolent. It's not practical. You've got to be willing to defend yourself and able to defend yourself. Because you have to remember, Dr. King's home was bombed.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Malcolm X's home was bombed.
Kids.
And his life is continually threatened. So at the end of his life, he was sleeping with guns under his pillow. And there was a understanding that there's some people out here who don't respect your humanity, and no matter how nonviolent you are, they will be as violent with you as they possibly can. And so you saw a coalescing of the movement between Malcolm X, who, what the young people say about him is they remember by any means necessary. And what he was really saying is, my body is as valuable as yours. I'm not just going to sacrifice it to you and let you take it from me. And I think you saw Dr. King start to look at the practicality of that. And you saw the same thing in South Africa, where they didn't have access to arms. Not at least overtly, surreptitiously they got their hands on it. But it's like you can't just murder us with impunity anymore.
And we forgot about the Aborigines, their struggle during that same time period.
Almost rendered extinct. And to this day, we have, I want to slap myself for not remembering their name, but there's an indigenous African descent people in Indonesia right now, which are being slowly wiped out with genocide. So, this threat to us has always been in place since the first time the Syrians invaded the Nile Valley, and it continues to this day. There is a hatred and a certain contempt for us of African descent. And we need to understand that, and we need to understand why it's that way, and we need to understand what we can do about it. But you can't go around pretending that all you have to do is be a good Negro and have a great character, and they'll treat you right.
And go to church.
And that's true. It's really mind-boggling, man. All these years, and still some of our people get the wrong understanding. It seems like it's easier for them to get the wrong understanding than to get the right understanding.
But they know what time the house hookers of Atlanta's coming on, and they know what time the game's coming on, and they know what time BET's having their awards ceremony. They know all the silliness. And I'm not saying this about all of us, but too many of us have this childish outlook on life that it's all about entertainment. Work, be entertained, and go to church on Sunday. It's all good.
And that entertainment comes in the form of basketball, baseball. They control,
distractions.
They control, and like we moving into baseball now. The bars are gonna be full. Niggas giving toast. And then from there it's gonna go to football, and then it's gonna go, back to basketball.
Study keeping our mind
distracted.
From the things that we should be thinking about. You were saying, Pat.
Divide and conquer. Look, if I allow, we said it in the earlier program, education. If you become educated enough, you are a threat to them because you now know something. That is why King was such a threat, because what he was saying, what he was doing was educating the masses such that they now begin to think. And if today our people who are in a position to do so would start educating the masses. Now, I'm not saying you must go out on a limb and get shot and all of that, but you have more opportunity now than then. In King's day, he went out there. Today, we have so many of us in classrooms, college campus, universities, who are professors, etc. Use your knowledge to give guidance. And yes, we'll make it.
Well, one of the things that a lot of our people, when we think about Malcolm, he always said, "Hey, just open the door. We'll get what we need." Yeah. But all these years later, we still not getting what we should be getting.
No, the door hasn't been open.
Because we didn't go and get it.
No, that's because the door is never open.
In many cases, we didn't go and get it.
We can't be so quick to assign blame to us just simply being apathetic.
Well,
the door has not been open.
But
and wherever it was ajar, however slightly, we should worm our way in there.
And make a door.
And get what we need to get.
But don't wait for them to open it.
I got to give you a little example. I had a young lady one time, we were at a workshop, and she was mad at me. This country is catering to foreigners. You're a foreigner, and I'm born here, and I don't have a job. Okay. Number one, I had every right to be here like you. Number two, I spent my money to go and get an education. Did you? No. Then don't just start. And we're not gonna we don't want to throw blame, but it's there. This is a land of opportunity. They don't just throw it out there to you, but you have to seek it out and want it bad enough to go and get it.
Well, this is the thing that we've always had to do, and sadly, a lot of our people just, don't see it that way.
It's time enough, Ahmad. Sorry for cutting you. It's time enough that some of us stop this sit-down mentality and expect things to drop in our laps.
Right.
We are entitled to this. There was this one guy,
he
always talk about the 40 acres and the mule. Look, there's no 40 acre and no mule coming to you.
No.
So you may as well start realizing, I got to get up and start working. But
the premise of what you're saying is to say that but for blacks' lack of initiative, everything would be right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that is all to it. Lots of us, I didn't say everybody, lots of us sit back and expect it to drop in our laps. And I hear something some people say. But at the same time, there are those who have the power, who are not willing to relinquish it. And you and I and everybody else like us will have to, wherever we see cracks on the glass, find a way to enter it and get what we need.
I agree.
I don't.
Well,
I don't think it has anything to do with anything.
Well,
I don't think Dr. King went out and said you need to take advantage of opportunities and get up off your butt. No.
Well,
he said the system is rigged against you.
Well,
it's immoral. It's illegal, and we need to change the system. He didn't say.
But then if we sit back and don't let it, we're not going to change it.
He didn't say, I'm going to do this after some of y'all decide to get up off your butts. Because getting up off of butts ain't never been an issue in the black community. It's never been. We've worked hard in this country, bro.
But I'm saying,
always have and always will. That's not the issue.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what he's saying.
No, I don't think that's what he said.
We have to continue to struggle, you know. And then Frederick Douglass said, from the time we get here till the time we leave, life's a struggle.
Yeah. I'm saying if it hadn't been for the white men whipping the horses, we would, we wouldn't have went to work. But we were motivated out of fear that the fear that he put on us. But when it comes to us sitting down collectively and saying, let's do this or let's do that, we don't have that leadership that we had with Martin Luther King. We don't have that leadership we had with Elijah Muhammad. So we need leadership. We need a plan. We don't have a plan. We know we need economics. The boycott worked.
Yeah.
Them white folks are glad to see them black folks back there.
Yeah. I'll see what y'all. What are y'all looking at, man? You say we don't have a plan. You'll see these young people, man. Who do you think Black Lives Matter is comprised of?
Well, they getting the education, but the education.
No, they got a plan.
What's the plan?
Their plan is to protest and to act out and demonstrate that we will not let these people take our lives.
But we've done that ever since I can remember.
I wasn't speaking to the effectiveness of the prescription. I'm speaking to the notion that we just sitting back doing nothing. That's just not true.
Well, wait.
That's just not true. So it's not fair to put that out there.
Well,
it is. After all we've been through, you shouldn't have to poke or prod anybody of color. Our history is enough to make you come together.
The trouble, Charles, they don't know the history. So how could they apply it? We have to understand it. That's where education comes in. And when we understand, then, you see, when you're working from a knowledge base, you can accomplish so much more than when you're just emotional.
Education is great. Everybody in this room is taught and achieved education. But that's not the issue. The issue is, are you aware of what is really going on in your life and what's going on with respect to you and how power is allocated? That's the issue. Well, and it has nothing to do with us just waiting on somebody to drop something in our lap.
Well, the education is, we're not benefiting from the education. Other people are benefiting from the education. Our community is not. Our community is sterile.
Which might lead you to ask, is it education that we need, or is it something else?
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Is that a fair question?
Yeah, we need unity.
So if we've got increased levels of education, but the community still seems to be in a position that's not all that different than it was in the 30s and 40s, might you ask if there's something else going on?
Yeah, something else.
Okay, so if we got to ask that question, we rule out education as being the prescription, what's the problem?
The problem is we don't believe in ourselves.
Maybe the problem ain't nothing we do. You know what I'm saying?
What is it? Tell me.
The problem is something that's set arrayed against us. The world's most powerful economic, political, military system that's ever lived on this planet is arrayed against us.
Yeah.
And despite their strength in numbers and abilities, we still achieve. Well, that's how I see it.
But China had the same issue. It isolated itself and it's got itself back together. It's alive and functioning. Now we depend on China.
Mm-hmm. Well, who's we?
The Chinese and what they produce.
Well, you know, China's going through their. I mean, China during World War II was a fourth world nation at the beck and call and submissive to Japan, to the United States. It was not even a player in World War II. It was just a victim. Mm-hmm. Then you had the communist revolution of Mao Zedong. They got a little bit of national pride and they started to assert themselves. But it hasn't been until very recently when Nixon made his Pepsi-Cola expedition over there in the early 70s that opened up the doors economically to China. Even then, it took them 50 years to get where they are today. But that's not our issue. China's a sovereign nation. The United States of America Negroes is not a sovereign nation.
Well, but what he's saying, what from what I hear Charles saying,
our experience is unique.
Yeah.
We lost contact with our identity.
Yeah.
So we have to play our game as to what is it going to take for us to come out from under. We don't even make toilet paper to wipe our butt.
No.
You know, we can't go to, we totally,
who does though?
We totally depend on somebody else.
Who does? Do the Greeks?
Everybody got economics, they producing some in plants.
You know, you living in the age of corporatism, bro. But the mom and pop days is over.
Yeah, but
you just ain't gonna throw a shingle out there and start making toothbrushes.
Yeah, but what he's saying, blacks have always been
innovative, entrepreneurial, self-sufficient.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But
always.
But we saying now, we see less.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know. And so you have to ask your question: why is that? Is that something that we do, or is that something that comes from outside forces?
It's something that was done to us that put us in this.
Okay, so we need to stop with this narrative that it's because we're apathetic and waiting on somebody to drop something in the lap and we need more leadership.
Well,
no, what we need to do is recognize game when it's in our face. That's the first thing we need to do. And start looking at the culprits for who they are and stop blaming each other.
Right.
Well, and then once we do that, we can come up with some type of
and get the culprits out of the business. Get the culprits out.
No, we're not splitting hairs. We're coming right down to the bottom line.
You were saying, Patrick.
We got to look at it now. Dennis I'm not disputing what you're saying as that there's value to that. I'm not disputing Charles either. I'm not disputing there's a role for everything. Yes, the system is rigged against us.
Oh yeah, always. It's always been rigged against us.
Two, knowing that it's rigged against us, what are we going to do to get from under that kind of a system?
Get rid of the rig.
How?
It's religion.
Well,
religion?
Yeah.
Religion?
Religion.
How are you going to use religion to get from under that?
Because religion is what's controlling everyone. Religion has got the black community divided against its own self.
Methodist against the Baptist against
so
the
then
Catholic.
It's not religion, but some people who claim to be religious.
No, it's religion, bro.
It's religion.
Some people who claim to be religious.
Religion is a gimmick to control people.
It's not. Religion is an aspect of it, but it's also policy, man. Policy tells you. You go to any town. I've had these conversations with European colleagues of mine because after a couple drinks, everybody wants to be real frank. They loosen up. They want to talk, and they're like, "Dennis, why?" I say, Columbus, Ohio. Go south on High Street. What do you run into? You run into a great big ghetto. Any town of any size, anywhere in this country,
even in Mississippi,
I don't care where you are, Oregon, Virginia. Upstate New York, you gonna find a black community that's impoverished, economically deprived, with poor schools and poor access to capital.
Even in Jamaica.
Brother, that is policy. That's not character. That has nothing to do with ambition or the willingness to work or level of education. That is policy. That is government policy. That is business policy. And we need to recognize that as the Panthers did, as Malcolm did, as Martin did, and stop talking about this, do more, work harder, get better education, and get up off your butt. It's irrelevant.
Okay, that's policy. The policy is working against us. What are we going to do? What can we do to turn things around so that we can have policies that's working for us and everybody?
Well, to me, an alcoholic has to admit that he's an alcoholic. Black folks got to admit that we being tricked and want to get out of the game. You got to create your own environment, and you got to get leverage so that you can deal with issues around you.
Where's the leverage going to come from?
The leverage is going to come from cohesiveness, working together.
Mm-hmm. What else it needs?
Building an environment for the future. Don't get a job or create a corporation to be the boss. Get a corporation to see how many people you can put to work, how you can make a difference in your community.
Uh-huh.
Bring that education back and make a difference.
All right.
Which was a cat got your tongue?
I'm still. We've been here second time. Second time we've been brought here was in 1515. Approximately 1515. We come to the U.S. again. We was here long before 1515, first time. But
52,000 years ago, to be precise, when we first.
Yeah. But I'm trying to figure out, not only here in America, everywhere you go, the black man or woman is looked on as being down, not to wherever you go.
And that's fine. If they want to look at us, that's their business. But it's up to us to know who we are. For example, For example, how many black folks know that just 700 years, not even 700 years ago, a little over 600 years ago, that the vast ultra majority of Europeans were completely illiterate. Mm-hmm. I'm talking over 98%. Even your monarchy couldn't read.
Didn't have a dialect.
You didn't have indoor plumbing. You had people living indoors with the animals. Mm-hmm. You didn't have an education system. You didn't have paved streets. You didn't have any of the things you take for granted. Mm-hmm. It took Africans from the Moors to go into the Iberian Peninsula and develop a high level of civilization. And this wasn't that long ago. Right. They were in power from 711 AD to 1492 AD, and any child who's educated in the United States can tell you what happened in 1492.
That is. So
the point is, the idea that they look on us with scorn is because they've tried to erase from the institutional memory of both black and white who Africans really are.
So you're saying all that we're seeing here today, all over the world, really came out from the black mind?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that engineering, architecture, high-level mathematics, chemistry, biology, archaeology, medicine, Imhotep, the world's greatest physician, who Hippocrates, who doctors now take the Hippocratic oath, said Hippocrates himself said that Imhotep was history's greatest physician. I'm talking the ability to change the current of the River Nile. Africans did that thousands of years ago. I'm telling you, if people, you wouldn't need the Indians, the Asians, the Europeans to know this. If black folks just knew their own history and had the type of pride and had the type of caring that it takes to learn your own history, we wouldn't be walking around talking about I need white Jesus. We wouldn't be talking about we need to do better for ourselves. You would, because you have more self-esteem,
Democrat or Republican.
You'd have more knowledge of yourself and more self-esteem. So I'm always ones that say you need to know your own story better than they know theirs.
Okay, my buddy. We got just about 3 minutes.
Okay.
So just back at you, Dennis. Am I right in saying then that until and unless we understand our role as blacks from way back up to now, we're going to have difficulties?
There's an African proverb, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't remember the exact words, but the paraphrase is, it's hard to say where you're going if you don't know where you've been.
True.
How can you give somebody directions to a point where you don't know where you're beginning? So if we walk around here with the attitude that all we ever had was running around in the jungle, living in huts with bones in our nose, eating each other, running from lions, which is the narrative that's taught to us, let's be honest, then we'll never have the type of pride and esteem that it takes to truly reconstruct our culture. Yeah. And this culture that we created in this world has never been surpassed in terms of greatness. Yeah. The Nile Valley culture has never been surpassed.
And I look at the Sphinx and the pyramids as benchmarks that we did that.
And that was at the end. And that was towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, you had 25 great dynasties. Within those dynasties, you had myriad monarchies, and you had culture moving from at the foot of the Mount Kilimanjaro, the mountain of the moon, what the Africans called it, to Kush, to Nubia, to Kemet, to create this great civilization that went all over the world. And now we're being told, oh, you just come from a bunch of people running around with huts, and you need to go to their schools and pray to their Jesus in order to get back.
And become a Christian.
Or follow whatever religion.
Yeah.
We didn't have religion. We had
spirituality.
We used to pray to the earth before we plowed because we were injuring the soil. That's a spiritual type. And you saw the same
connection.
And you saw the same connection with what we now call the Indians, who are our brothers.
Right.
And their regard for the earth. We've lost all that, and we need to get back to that.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. you don't change your ways. I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.